So, good evening, everyone. My name's Tajri. I did my elective in a slightly less exotic location, which was Dublin and Glasgow. So, I'll just be speaking to you about that.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. So, these are the two sites, St Vincent's University Hospital in Dublin and University of Glasgow, as well as the QE Hospital in Glasgow. I spent my time in both places. And yeah, those are some slightly rainy images, but I had a good time. This is what I did. So I spent 1 week in diagnostic radiology in Dublin, and then 1 week in IR. And Glasgow, I did 4 weeks of post-mortems, a research project, and presenting it as well. And we also had a disaster victim identification day, which we worked with police and dentists and things like that to work out how you would identify a victim in a disaster. So these are some of my highlights in radiology. So I observed my supervisor's day-to-day tasks to give me a better idea of what radiologists do. Watched him do ultrasound guided procedures as well, such as ganglion cyst aspirations. And in IR, I watched loads of things go in and out, basically, with a catheter, so biliary stents, nephrostomy exchanges, and implantable ports. Forensics highlights, I did a research project looking at maternal deaths in Scotland and getting postmortem cases and sort of analysing the data. And I was there with Lucy. So yeah, we had a good time. So a little bit about the project. So most maternal deaths are in the developing world. However, we obviously still have quite a lot in the UK, 11.56% per 100,000, between 2019 and 21, and Embrace, that sort of surveys neonatal and maternal deaths. Reported after COVID, cardiac diseases were the most prevalent cause of maternal deaths. So what did I do? I did a retrospective review of the maternal deaths reported by the University of Glasgow pathologists, and my supervisor sort of put in the search data, so things like pregnancy, gestation, and maternal, and that yielded 12 post-mortem reports, all of which I included. And then I did a table summary of the demographics, the cause of death, their backgrounds, and the histological findings. And then I classified it into direct and indirect deaths. So indirect deaths would be things the mothers would die of that they had before they got pregnant. So cardiac disease, for example. These are the results. So most mothers were in their third trimester when they died, mostly in hospital with a obese BMI. And I found in my data that spanned a period of 15 years that the most common cause was VTEs, which is different to Embrace's report of cardiac diseases. But obviously my data, the time periods are different, and I only had 12 reports. A few strengths and limitations. So in previous studies done, there was a lack of histology, but this was present in all of the cases that I had. Can't obviously come up with a significance trend because it was quite a small sample, and one case was awaiting further comment. There was an identification of possibility of missing cases which weren't coded correctly on the database as maternal deaths, and once I presented it, this got brought up to the pathologists, and they said they're going to remediate that in their protocol for the future. And there's a possibility that the sample isn't representative because not all maternal deaths receive a post-mortem. So some reflections, I got a better understanding of what careers look like in both fields. I enjoyed living in new places away from home, first exposure to IR, as well as working with pathologists. It was some of my first post-mortems I'd ever seen and worked on. I really enjoyed working part of a large team with the pathologists, police, photographers, lab technicians, etc. And yeah, just to mention some opportunities that I've gotten because of this elective. So establishing a good relationship with the MDU to publish for them, let them know about my experiences. Also with Hull York Medical School, publishing some things for them as well, winning the elective award, and also presenting to a panel of forensic pathologists. So I talked to them about my post-mortem results as well. So that was really rewarding. These are my references, and a big thank you to yourselves, obviously, for making this possible. I really enjoyed it, so thank you.
Well, my ears perked up then a little bit. You have a few retired obstetricians here, but also you have here one of them. He's written many authors of the maternal mortality reports of England, England, Scotland, and Wales. So I'm sure he might have the odd question. This is Professor James Drive.
Can I just fire away? Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but obviously. We had a really prolonged campaign for over a decade to try and get the numbers of the venous thromboembolism deaths down.
Actually, Jim, do you want to come up here? Because we've got two Zoom people. Just whilst you're talking, save me repeating it.
It's not going to be a long question, but when I was involved with the National Confidential Inquiry, there was a spell when venous thromboembolism was the leading cause. As you say, cardiac disease has sort of overtaken it because we were successful in a way in bringing the number of deaths from venous thromboembolism down. But it took a lot of hard work and a lot of pressure on people to spot early signs and spot the people at risk. And you mentioned the high BMIs. And I'm just wondering, I've noticed that the venous thromboembolism has crept back up again. And what was to be a short question was, have you much information about the background? You were studying the post-mortems. Did you manage to get any information about whether things were missed before, the final terminal event, or were you focusing only on the post-mortem?
So the data was anonymized for myself. It was all quite confidential. So I wasn't able to look at their medical records, but I think that's definitely something that the pathologist could take forward and look at their backgrounds.
It's interesting you're seeing it from a pathologist side, aren't you, from us? So it's very interesting to see that point, and that you're fascinated by that rather than where we're seeing it from seeing it the other side. Any other questions? Are you going to be a pathologist?
I was leaning more towards radiology.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of radiologists here, so you can talk to them afterwards. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Very interesting.